2 The Redline Productions proudly presents.
Hey there, YouTube. Well, on this rainy day, I wanted to bring you all this 2011 Mazda MX-5 with 3,000 miles on it. It's also known as the Miata from past times. Some people still call the MX-5 a Miata. It still looks quite similar, even throughout the last 20 years. And to be honest, it really is the only car in the market left that's truly similar to the old Honda S2000. Of course, the engine doesn't hold a candle against the S2000 engine, but it's the only small, fun-to-drive convertible left in the market. You can see in back, dual exhaust tips. It says limited edition there, but I'm quite sure it's just somebody who just planted that emblem there. You can see it rides on 205/50/16s rear disc brakes, thankfully. You can see its interior, quite simple and basic looking. Here's the adjustment to the backrest to raise and lower the seat for more thigh support, because it's a very low riding seat right there. You can see how low it is to the ground. Let's try getting in here. I'm 6'1". And surprisingly, I do fit quite snug in here. 5-speed manual, fortunately. In the Mazda lineup, the MX-5 was the other option if you wanted a two-door. There was the Mazda RX-8, but that has the rotary engine. It is a much larger car and the interior is much more comfortable, but the rotary engine is more complex and doesn't have a great track record when it comes to reliability. The MX-5 just has a regular 4-cylinder engine that anybody can repair, nothing complicated about it. And will also be a nice fun-to-drive car that's quite peppy too because it's lightweight. Now, talking about comfort, the MX-5 really isn't the most comfortable car. The seats are very firm, though they are nicely bolstered on the sides, even on the bottom section. Your torso will be nicely hugged. You can't really recline the seats either, you can see. Not much clearance. Thigh support also really isn't a big deal. Again, the seat sits very low to the ground, and I have thigh support adjusted to the max, so this really isn't the best place for tall drivers in the long run. Again, the backrest, I really can't adjust it anymore because I have the seat adjusted all the way back. It is quite wide for the most part, considering the proportions. Armrest also travels far back, so elbow comfort won't be a problem here. Legroom really isn't the biggest deal. The center stack is on the skinny side, though the transmission hump is quite fat, because remember, this is a rear-wheel drive car, so there is a transmission under here. And you have to have your legs shifted towards the left a little bit. So there are quite a few sacrifices in terms of comfort if you ever do decide in owning an MX-5. Now, interior quality really wasn't the biggest deal either. A rather grainy plastic, but it doesn't feel too bad. This gray finish over here, I'm not a huge fan of this. This always fades and becomes ugly in the long run. But I will have to admit that everything does feel quite tight. It doesn't feel hollow or anything like that. It feels very sturdy. Now here's the climate control. Very simple, only these 3 dials, no dual zone or anything like that. Power outlet, aux jack to the side, little tray. And here is the 5-speed manual. Feels pretty good. E-brake, power windows, driver window, auto down only. There's this lid, slides back, and you have these dual cup holders. You can remove this section if you wish. Slide this back. This is padded, by the way, with a piece of vinyl on top. The rest of the armrest here, where would it become an armrest, isn't padded. I think this should have been a padded section over here, because you can see where I have to end up resting my elbow. So this is all plastic. It's hard to the rock. Little storage compartment here. You can see fuel filler lid disc latch. Steering wheel, leather wrapped all the way around. You're not going to expect cruise control. Again, this is a basic car, plus it's a manual gearbox. Wipers, intermittent speed. Was a little bit wet. Headlamps on the turn signal lever. Steering wheel only tilts, surprisingly. I can't really pull it back, so it does not telescope at all. Nothing much else over here, just an on and off switch over here for the passenger side airbag. Door panel, rubbery on top. It's not padded, it's just rubbery. Side here, plastic. Though the armrest is nicely padded. You only have power mirrors on the door panel over here. Little pocket and cup holder. Sun visor, it is plastic, but that is quite expected here. Little mirror, as you can see. Quite tiny. You're not going to have a vanity light or anything like that here. You do have a map light at least. To open the top, push this button over here to release. You saw how that goes. And all you have to do is just retract the top. You saw how that went. You see how it is back here. Quite small. Probably hold 2 or 3 Thanksgiving turkeys, but hey, at least you do have some sort of grocery holder here. It's quite small. I assume that's a kit, I guess, for run flats. That's just a guess. Well, there's a jack. Cargo light. Not much else back here. Another little compartment right there. That was thoughtful. Glove box I forgot to show you. Damped. It's about average sized. Owner's manual. Seems to shut evenly. Well, to close back this top, this latch right there, pull this down and just bring the top back up over here. It's very simple. I'll close that right up. Just slide it in those slots right there. And that's it. You close the top. It's quite simple. 2-liter dual overhead cam 4-cylinder. It does have variable valve timing. It's good for 167 horsepower, which isn't too bad. Though you have to rev it up to 7,000 RPM for that. 140 foot-pounds of torque at 5,000 RPM. So this is an engine that you really have to rev it quite hard in order to get full power out of it. So I guess that's what helps makes this a fun-to-drive car, because the Honda S2000 was that way. You really had to make the car scream. It is a very rev-happy engine. It is quite loud, though. I will admit that. But not bad. So YouTube, I guess if you're in the market for a small 2-door convertible, the Mazda MX-5 is it. Right now, off the top of my head, I really can't think of any other car in its class that compares to it. There used to be the Honda S2000, but that was discontinued. Pontiac Solstice, the Saturn Sky, both discontinued. Maybe the BMW 128i, but that's upmarket. And I honestly can't think of any other car. Because it's a very lightweight car, rear-wheel drive, it will be a very fun little car to drive. But YouTube, thanks for watching, and that concludes the tour to this 2011 Mazda MX-5.
Yeah, here's some legal stuff for you. The views and opinions expressed in the following video may not necessarily reflect those of the title holding automotive dealer or the entity they represent. All videos are filmed with permission by a professional driver on a set course with the collaboration and assistance of local law enforcement authorities. Do not attempt. Logos and brandings of vehicle manufacturers, dealerships, and online social media sites are the sole property of their respective representation used with permission. The To The Redline logo, soundtrack, and web resources, as well as all other associated media, are copyrighted intellectual property of To The Redline LLC. All rights reserved.